I want to first thank Reading Cooperative Bank for Maureen Bernard for sponsoring this with us with Mango Realty, and you will. We're going to start with having Sue have some opening remarks.
Thank you, Peter.
Sue Palumba, the broker owner of Mango Realty here in Saugus.
Welcome, everyone. Good morning. I want to say thank you for all being here this morning. Today is just not about downsizing. It's about transformation, making decisions that will not only guide us through the current process, but also laying the foundation for all of you for a stronger future. I want to extend a special thank you to Maureen Bernard from the Reading Cooperative Bank, who brought us the delicious desserts from Bits and Bites. They were definitely a treat. And to all our presenters here, thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your experience. Your willingness to lend your resources, time, and guidance speaks volumes after the power of collaboration, and we're incredibly fortunate to have all of you by our side. I also want to take a moment to give our heartfelt thank you to Peter, whose dedication and hard work to make this event possible. A big thank you to Laurie from the Senior Center, our director. Thank you, Laurie, for giving us the opportunity to present this, and we're very grateful. Thank you. And Saugus Cable, thank you. They will be videotaping this, and it could be shown by Vimeo, and what was that other channel?
Saugus TV.
Saugus TV. Channel 8, thank you. And lastly, I want to thank each of you and every one of you who took the time to come and listen. Your presence and engagement makes a difference. Together, we can all make a difference. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Sue. All of our guest speakers are here. That's great. So, okay, what is downsizing? It's an intentional process aimed at reducing your living space, which may include decluttering your possessions or moving to a smaller home. The key takeaway here, it's intentional. It's not something that you just all of a sudden start. It involves planning, it involves organization, a forethought, and it's purposeful. So you begin at a certain point to downsize. Transition involves a change in your lifestyle, often involving less stress, possessing fewer items, and research shows that you're going to be happier when you downsize, when your life gets simpler. Mango Realty has brought together a team of skilled professionals. 30 years or more, some of these people have been involved in doing these things that you may or may want to embark on. And they're going to share with you real life examples. They've seen it all of what people do right and what people do wrong when they downsize. At some point, you may find that you might need some or all of the services. Now, there's a sequence of how you go about downsizing. First, you want to ensure that your legal matters are settled, and that's why we're going to have Attorney Donna DiGiovanni from Cliffdale Square, Lincoln Avenue, talk first, because that's the first step in the process. You need a financial plan or a strategy. That's why we're going to have Maureen Bernard, Vice President of Reading Cooperative Bank Mortgage Division here in Lynn and throughout the North Shore, talk about coming up with a financial plan. You may need it for downsizing, depending on what your current status is. The third thing you might want to do is organize your personal possessions. We have a professional organizer here, Corinne Bromberger, who does this for a living and has a lot of expertise, and again, seeing what people do right and what people do wrong. disposing, donating, or selling items that you cannot take with you as you downsize. We have Saugus resident Bob Penta from Bob's Unlimited, who's been doing this over 30 years. And he's got a lot of stories to tell, but he'll share a few with them today. He does a great job. And you may want to donate things too. We have Savers and Saugus and Salvation Army and so forth. So you don't have to throw everything away. I'm sure Corinne's going to say that you want to recycle some things too. You want to prepare your home for marketing to achieve the best possible outcome, assuming you are going to sell your home. And we have our agent from Mango, Janine Molden, who has experience, and one of her clients right here, Sue Capel from Magnolia, she's been spending many hours with. We also want to introduce Leah Doherty, a Mango agent, and Marie Richemont. Marie, where are you? There she is over here taking the pictures. And we have Carl and Ron Visconti is here too from Mango Realty. So thank you very much to our fellow agents for being here. So Janine is going to talk about preparing your home to achieve the best possible outcome. Marketing your property, whether or not you decide to sell or you want to get rid of it fast. It may be an estate situation. We have Jason Scaduto here from Saugus. He transforms homes in Saugus that are dilapidated and makes the neighborhoods actually better by what he does. But he's the guy you want to go to if you just want to get rid of it fast. And he's going to talk about what he's seen. And finally, you're going to move. What do you do with your stuff that you want to keep? You have Jeff Wilson from King Moving and Storage right here in Lynn. They give great deals to seniors, and they work with you. They have storage right down on Summer Street, across from Robert's Cleaners, and very good people to work with. So these are all skilled professionals to advise you and answer your questions at the end. So first up, Attorney Donna DiGiovanni, who talks about the important things of planning your estate. Donna has had a little accident here from shoveling snow or moving furniture, and she still came down to help us. Thank you, Donna.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Like Peter said, I'm Donna DiGiovanni. I've been practicing in Saugus for over 30 years, same spot, right in Cliftondale, across the street from St. Margaret's Church. So Pete asked me to speak about estate planning matters and how that becomes affected by downsizing. And most of my brightest thoughts are on old envelopes. So hopefully there's some on here. So first, when you're thinking about downsizing, it's a good time to visit or revisit your estate plan. So I say visit if you don't have your estate plan and documents in place. It might be a good time now to get them in place. So make sure you've created an estate plan. Now, for most of you, that probably means a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney, and a will. And people always think that the will is probably the most important document in that packet. Ironically, it's the healthcare proxy that's probably the most important document in that packet. Because the only way somebody can help you with a healthcare decision that you can no longer make for yourself is with a healthcare proxy document. And they're relatively inexpensive, they're relatively simple to do. Many of you probably have them, particularly if you've had surgeries, elective or at least non-emergency. You might have signed one and you might have one, at least with your doctor. If not, it's a good thing to consider. A durable power of attorney is a great document to consider. It allows whoever you give the power to the opportunity to
Use the microphone.
Peter, I'm going to keep my hand close to the thing.
All right.
I'm going to do. The power of attorney document allows you to select somebody to help you make financial decisions or effectuate a financial decision. Good when you can't get to the bank anymore, or you can break your leg, or when you start to slow down and it's difficult to make phone calls or to understand what people are saying on the phone. But you need to trust the person that you're selecting implicitly, and then you will. And for those of you who are like my grandmother, who didn't think anybody should have a will until I started law school, it is not the equivalent of calling the priest for the last rites. I swear I've got people with 30-year-old wills that are still doing just fine. So don't let, that notion, the banana wrapper notion scare you. Secondly, and this is almost more crucial in some respects, if you think you have an estate plan and you've got the documents, make sure you have the original documents, all right? Because what my experience has been several times, and this is horrible, is the documents are someplace else, you're gone, and now your loved ones have no idea where to look for those documents. And we've spent, I don't want to say weeks, but close to weeks, calling lawyers, out of a yellow pages going, I betcha she went to so-and-so because that's around the corner from her house. Make sure you've got your original documents. Some lawyers like to hold on to your estate planning documents. I don't, and I don't recommend that you leave them because lawyers get old too. And they do die, and your documents are now in somebody's safe, and nobody can find your documents. So, while you're around and you know who you spoke, had do your documents, get those documents. When you buy a lawnmower, you don't leave it at Home Depot, you take it home. Same thing with your estate planning documents. They're yours, take them home. The best thing you can do is keep them safe from fire. So I recommend small fire-safe box, and you can get the smallest box they sell because you can fold the documents, and you can get those boxes at Walmart, Target, Staples, just about any of those stores will have them, and they're pretty cheap, and they're far cheaper than a safe deposit box at the bank, and actually far easy to administer. So that's what I recommend. Thirdly, to that point, is make sure you are holding your original documents, okay? And I understand copies look as good as originals because the copy machines are getting better and our eyes are getting worse, okay? So look at the document, get to the page where you see where the lawyer signed, and see if you can feel the raised seal with, on the notary. That will be the most useful thing. Make sure you've got the documents. Lots of folks are holding the photocopies and their lawyers are holding the originals, all right? And you think you've got the originals, but you don't, so check it. Sometimes some lawyers will actually mark them copies, so that makes it easier to see. But do check that. So 3 things. Make sure you got the documents. Make sure you have the documents, in place. Make sure you've got the documents at your house. And make sure what you have are original documents, all right? My second point is, if you're planning on downsizing, that is probably a good time to review your documents with a lawyer. Now, why do I say that? Because if you're downsizing and you move to Arizona or Florida, so you can play golf 365 days a year, or you're moving to New Hampshire to be closer to loved ones, your documents, for the most part, are Massachusetts specific, okay? So when you get to your new state, have a lawyer there look at your documents, okay? They might be fine. They might go, yeah, this will work here too, and that's good. And if not, get new documents. Or there are other things that might be available in different states that would have been ideal if we could do it in Massachusetts for you when you were here, but it doesn't apply under our law. And they'll go, we've got this device. And you might be able to take advantage of it. So if you move out of state, revisit your documents. If you downsize and get rid of your house, that's a good time to look at your will again, because if you were leaving the house to so-and-so or child A, and now you don't have the house, it might be that you want to leave your downsized condo or house to child A, or maybe you want to change the plan. So it's a good time to revisit it. That might only require a phone call to your lawyer and just say, hey, guess what? I'm moving. I just got rid of my house on blankety blank street and I bought a condo at blankety blank. And is that going to affect my will in any way? I get those calls all the time. I honestly look at my computer, I look at what I know is your last will, and I go, no, you're good. It was planned for, we're okay. Or, let's tweak it a little bit. And it's a small tweak, Finally, some of you might have your house in a trust for varying reasons. And when you go to sell that house as part of your downsizing plan, you want to then consider whether the new house or the new condo should go into the trust or doesn't need to go into the trust anymore. So you want to revisit, because frequently people have the trust, think they've got something in it, and then when they conveyed out the property and sold their house that they moved out of, nothing went back in the trust. So it's kind of like an empty pocketbook. You've got it, but nothing's in it. So having it is almost useless at that point. You've got the device, but you're not using it. like a pocketbook so you can keep in your closet. So just remember that, at that point, hey, I sold the house. And you might also want to check with your lawyer at that point, because it might be the proper way for holding the sale proceeds that you're not spending in a certain account titled to the trustees. So it's a good time to check with your lawyer at that point and just say, selling the house, remember it's in the trust, closing's Friday, what should I do with the check? Okay? And the answer might be, have the kids who are the trustees of the trust open the bank account to hold the proceeds and go from there. Or, oh, you're buying something new? Let's put that in the old trust. All right? So, bear that in mind. And my last point is estate planning documents in general should be reviewed every so often, okay? Because there are changes in the law that may impact your documents. But you should always people that come in and do their will and they're getting ready to leave will always frequently say, so how often should I, revisit this document? And I say, look, I drafted to last forever, as long as your plans don't change, meaning you want to include another person in who you're going to leave stuff to, or you want to exclude somebody. I always say, revisit it when your financial situation changes, and I mean up or down. You hit megabucks, revisit your plans, because those might not be good for you, okay? If something happens and you suffer a financial downturn, it's a good time to revisit those documents. Or, God forbid, in the midst of a divorce. So keep that in mind. Also keep those same points in mind when you're thinking about who's benefiting under your estate, mainly children. If they're getting divorced, revisit your estate plan. If your kids have suffered, and this goes for you, I said this one, is health concerns. If your health changes, revisit the documents. Same goes for your kids' health changing. It's not always good for an adult child who's on some kind of disability program to inherit, and maybe you got to think differently about how you leave stuff to them. So, beneficiaries' health changing, or lastly, your beneficiary's financial situation changing up or down. All right. So here's some key points that you can take from that. If your existing will names guardians for your minor children, it's time to revisit it. Okay, it's old. If your existing will named your older brother as your your personal representative, might be time to revisit it and make sure that he is still up to the task and not, in Florida himself and, is suffering from his own health concerns. So it's time to revisit. So like I said, always good to look. It's built forever, most of them, but at least, stop and think. And you might want to just quick call to your lawyer and make sure that, this is happening in our family. And, some people are embarrassed to say what's going on. Heard it all. So nothing you've got going on in your life hasn't been gone on in somebody else's life, and we deal with it. So those are, I think, the key takeaway from downsizing and your estate plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll have some time at the end for questions if you have them. But clearly, planning, and Donna emphasizes revisit your plan, freshen it up. The next speaker is from Reading Cooperative Bank, Maureen Bernard. You may need financial services for mortgage or whatever. Maureen?
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Donna, that was great information. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. This is wonderful. As Peter had said, we're not here to solicit, we're here to give you information. And, at the end of this, if you'd like to talk to any one of us, please feel free to do that. And also, privately, give us a call. We're here to help you. It is a lot. So, my name's Maureen Bernard, and I'm from Reading Cooperative Bank. I am a vice president and a loan officer here at Reading Cooperative Bank, and we have a wonderful branch right on 400 Broadway Street here in Lynn. So it's really, 10 minutes away. We do have other locations, Reading, North Reading, Andover, Burlington. We are partnering with Wakefield Co-op as of May 1st, so that's going to open up some more locations in Lynnfield and Wakefield also. What I want to talk to you today is, I want you to know that we're here to help you, okay? As Donna said, I think having a smaller community bank, which we are, we give back to the community. We love to donate. Please help yourself to some coffee mugs. I also use them for coffee or soup. We love to be involved in the community. We're always with the Chamber of Commerce's, Boys and Girls Clubs of Lynn, Elks Clubs, anything we can come to, we want to help people. We do coat drives, anything we can do. Let's see, a little bit about myself. I've been a loan officer, as Peter said, for about 30 years. And when I tell you I love what I do, I love what I do. I have a passion for helping people. I think Sue and I were just talking about that we love to help people. I do work with a lot of realtors. I do love working with Mango Realty Group, and I will tell you that I've worked open houses with them, and they are very good. They will get you top dollar for your house and help you with a trusted advisory team, with the lawyers and home inspectors, the personal organizers, moving companies. So this particular group is what I call trusted advisors. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time. My secret sauce, what I call, I'm Italian, my secret sauce is communication and transparency and dedication. I will work for you as hard as I possibly can. I work nights and weekends too, and I will tell you that if someone has a question, just give us a call, anytime. We're very much available. I want you to feel comfortable with me. Like when you walk into my office, I want you to feel that you're walking into your living room. I can come here and meet you at the senior center. I can meet you at your home. I can meet you at the local coffee shop. Whatever's good for you. We're here to help. Because sometimes it's hard. You don't want to leave your area. So I do travel. Buying and selling can be a very complicated scenario. And like I said, I'm here to help you, talk you through the financial strategies that you need to do. I mean, selling your house, you might not need to buy a house. Okay, so we can work with that. We can help you with that. Even if you sell your house and you, as Donna said, you might downsize and maybe go to a condo with a small mortgage. A lot of the big banks won't even talk to you, because they want big numbers. We're all about community and all about helping you. So even if you needed a $50,000 mortgage, confidentially we can sit down and talk, and we can talk over the numbers on what you can afford. And I want to make sure that you can afford it. A lot of people will say you can afford this, and you got to remember, you want to be able to travel, the grocery store, go to the grocery store, your other expenses. So that's where I come into the financial strategy. Reading Cooperative Bank is a full-service bank. Okay, so what that means for you is that not only do we do loans with mortgages, but we can help you with checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, anything like that. I can even arrange to have one of our branch managers come to you. They'll be here at the senior center to open up an account. It's very complicated, right? In this day and age, technology, right? Everybody wants, press a button. Nobody wants to meet. I'm more of a meet person. I want to see you. I want to meet you. I want to hear about your family and your goals. So I am here to help you anytime. So please feel free to call me at the bank. I've left some business cards there. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming. This is very important to hear from, the attorney, the real estate people, and this panel, so we can help you. Thank you very much.
Maureen, again, thanks to the generosity of Reading Cooperative Bank for sponsoring this and the refreshments here. Next up, we're going through this sequence. You have your plan, you have your legal plan, you're gonna have a financial plan. Now it's time to look at your stuff. And that's where Corinne Baumberger comes in. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes.
Baumberger, correct?
Yes.
And I just love your icon there, less mess. I mean, did you come up with that?
I did not. I'm not that talented.
And really, simple organizing solutions.
Thank you. I'm setting a timer just so I don't go over, so I hope you don't mind. When I think of organizing, I think of goldfish. Humans are like goldfish. We grow to the size of our space. A lot of people move into homes and they're like, oh, I'll never fill it up. And then 20 years later, they're bursting at the seams because they've grown to the size of their space. For better or worse, it's great when you live there, maybe, but when it's time to downsize, it can cause issues. One of the things that I run into a lot are people underestimate how much stuff they have. And when you start going through it, you're just like, oh my gosh, where is it all gonna go? Because typically, again, you're downsizing. You may not need the platter for the huge Thanksgivings, because you might not be hosting them anymore. You put your time in, let somebody else do it. So one of the things that I help my clients do is I help them go through everything. And it's not just me, it's any organizer is gonna do this. Go through everything. Figure out what you really need. What do you really love? What do you really, oh, is it not? I'm sorry.
Closer to your mouth.
Oh, okay, here we go, it works. My apologies, sorry about that. It's a good thing to kind of think of, what is it that you really want? What is it that you really need? What do you want to take with you? A lot of times people have so much stuff, they just don't even realize how much they have. So they'll pull out all their Tupperware. And which ones actually have a top? Can you find it? Does it exist? Has it gone through the garbage disposal? Did the dog chew it up? Did the grandkids throw it away? Whatever. There's so many things that we have in our home that we just don't use anymore because we can't find them. When you're gonna move and downsize, there's no way it's all gonna fit. You wanna make sure that everything fits and the things that you're taking with you, you actually love. A lot of people don't think about organization in this way, but Yale University did a study back in last year in October, and they basically, I'll describe it in a little more layman's terms, but it's basically, we are like a laptop computer, and you've got all these tabs open, and with all these tabs open, your battery is physically draining. Even though you're not using these tabs, even though you're not seeing all this stuff and using all this stuff, it's physically draining you and you don't even realize it. So when you go through all your things, and I help my clients get rid of all the things that they didn't use, they don't love anymore, that don't work, they're amazed at how relieved they feel, at how calm they feel, because they can actually see the stuff they want, need, and like. Now imagine you get rid of all these things that you don't use, and then you take them to your new home, where you can even enjoy them, or you can enjoy them even more. It's something that's so simple, but it's very, I don't know how else to describe it, very zen. To just kind of feel relaxed and you can see the things you love. Now, one of the things that I run into with my clientele is, my kids might want this. I think we should save this. Let's ask them if they want this. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there are times when our kids actually do want it. It's like, oh, you know, I've been wanting this since I was 30. I've always loved that clock. It doesn't fit. It's not going to fit in your new space. But sometimes people are like, Mom, I have my own china. I don't need yours. I think it's very important to respect their no. Because just because it means something to you doesn't mean that it's going to mean something to them. There are other things that may mean something to them. And I think it's I know it's very important to communicate with your loved ones and ask them if they want it. Because they might want that stuff. But if they do, give them a hard deadline. You pick this up by December 22nd or it's gone. You are not their storage unit. You are not their basement, their garage. I think it's very important, and though you love them, you have a deadline to get all this stuff out of the house as well. And it's important that your friends, family, and whomever else you're storing their stuff for respects your time, space, and your timeline. Because when you're moving out, you're moving out. And if you're downsizing, you're probably not gonna have enough space. On the rare occasion, people don't downsize. They get a bigger house because they've got more grandkids and more in-laws or whatever the situation is. Those people don't call me because they have enough stuff. But I think it's very important to just keep all that in mind. And I've got 8 seconds left. And there you go. If you guys need any help with organization or have any questions, please feel free to call me. You don't have to, or talk to me. You don't have to call me, but there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can tell that she knows her craft, and thank you Mary, for that wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
Going through the sequence, you now have your legal plan in place, your financial plan, you've organized your stuff. You're gonna keep and throw what you don't want. Now, this is the stuff you wanna get rid of. The stuff that nobody wants. Who do you call? You get a guy like Bob Penta, right here, Saugus resident, Bob's Unlimited. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Recently, I called Bob, I said, Bob, I'm putting an offering in on a house over in Swampscott, and the people died, and what's on the kitchen countertop is a priority mailbox with the guy's ashes. What do you do with that, Bob? I've seen that before. Bob's seen it all, so go ahead.
He's talking about ashes because one of the stops, they left the mother ashes on the mantle. She wasn't there, and the driver took it away. She calls me back the next day, you took my mother. What do you mean we took the mother? She wasn't there to point out what she taught. But that's one of many stories. My name is Bob Penta, and I welcome all yous here. I have a business for 30 years. I'm in Everett. I live in Saugus. And I just want to tell you what we do. We take everything and anything, no matter what you have. I do demo. I take away boilers. I take away oil tanks. Anything you have, I take away. I try to solve the problem and not make the problems. Now, the most stressful thing, talking about downsizing, that's all we're talking about today, is it's the most stressful thing and the most problematic thing that you could ever do. If you have somebody helping you, you're going to get in an argument, you're going to fight with them. It's very stressful. But as far as downsizing, my wife used to tell me, Bobby, if you haven't used this thing in 1 year, one summer, get rid of it. So I suggest you, when you go home today, go down to the cellar, go in the attic, go in the closets. If you haven't used that thing in 1 year, either put it on the sidewalk or throw it away, because you're not going to be able to take it with you, you're not going to use it. I mean, today people want to hoard everything. We're all hoarders. No matter who you are, you're hoarding everything. You're hoarding pants, you're hoarding tile, you're hoarding tools in the garage. I mean, we don't need these things. Why? Because they were 10 cents and now they're $2. So we want to hold them. You can't do it. You got to get rid of everything. But if you haven't used anything in that time, one summer, my wife says, get rid of it. What we used to do is every week we'd throw out a little bag of trash. At the end of the year, that whole closet would be gone. So it's very stressful. And I do everything. We take away everything. I try to help people. The senior citizens are the best people because they don't have that much money-wise or, trash-wise. But I mean, it's very stressful. Don't argue with your siblings or your husband or your wife because it's really not worth it. I told one guy one day, we take everything but your house, your kids, and your wife. He says, what? He says, can you take my wife? I said, yeah, I can take your wife, but you're gonna come back the next day looking for her. I mean, I make a lot of mistakes. I learn from my mistakes, and you're gonna go through this here. This downsizing, you gotta do it immediately. I mean, you can't save nothing. And then when you take it, what are you gonna do with it? Nothing. You're gonna put it in a space, it's gonna stay there like she said, and it's never gonna move. So get rid of everything, go in that closet tonight, start bagging and put it out in the trash tomorrow. And I welcome you all here. I don't have much to say, but if you need any help, I can solve the problem, and I'll make the problem for somebody else. All right, thank you.
That's 30 years of experience talking right there, and that's what we hope for. Before we get started, go on to Janine on staging your house. I'd like to introduce, I saw Selectman Panetta here and Selectman Sereno. I just wanted to recognize them. Did they step out, Laurie? Yeah, okay, well, we'll give them an opportunity. Hi, Debbie, can you come up here and just say hello to the audience? Selectman Chairman Panetta, who supports community events all the time. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Peter. I want to thank Laurie Davis for hosting this very important forum this morning. I want to thank Peter, who worked very hard coordinating this along with Sue and this phenomenal panel. I mean, you're all so very well educated, and as Peter, I think, said it best, you really know your craft. So thank you so much for coming. A personal experience of mine, Unfortunately, I lost my mom a few months ago, and she didn't do any sort of estate planning at all. And and there's me and my sister, and it was very, very difficult to try to figure out where the paperwork was, what to do with all of her things. And I just said to my sister, you take whatever you want. I'm not gonna argue about who has what, because what are you really gonna do? And then you look, my sister moved in, my mom lived in a 2-story split. My sister moved into a 768 square foot condo. And when I said you could take as much as you want, you want to talk about downsize? She just moved in and she should downsize. So estate planning is of the utmost importance. And again, I thank you all for coming, and especially Peter, who does so much for our community, and everybody else here on this panel. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. I just want to say hello to Mike Serino. Selectman Serino's here as well. He's not ready to die. His house is mint inside, by the way. So he has no clutter. He is the model downsizer. So if you ever, Mike, next time you make the eggplant, invite some of these people over. So now we're going to hear from Mango Agent. She's got her own office up in Rockport, and she came down here with one of her favorite clients from Magnolia, Janine Molden. Janine, come on up, take the microphone, speak into it, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Janine Molden, and I'm a real estate agent for Mango Realty. And basically, I'm here to talk to you about the benefits of staging a home if you choose to sell. We all know first impressions of matter, and in real estate, they are everything. These days, buyers shop online first to take a look and find the property that they're looking for. And these pictures, either when they look online, these pictures pull them in and they want to see more and they actually want to go to an open house, or they just stop the search right there because the pictures do not emulate a space that they can resonate with. Let's see. A buyer enters into the house hunting process with a dream. A staged home can match their dream. Staging can offer an emotional connection with the buyer, and a well-staged home can make a memorable impression. Once engaged, buyers will be more committed and possibly willing to increase their offer. Statistically, staged homes can increase the sale price from 1 to 10%. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So a well-staged home isn't an expense, it's an investment. It leads to faster sales, often at higher prices, and can make your property the one that stands out in a competitive market. And here's an example of a house that I'm staging in Gloucester. So when I met my client, Sue Capel, she was an executor of an estate. And she has 4 siblings that live all over. And I came into the house and I just said, okay, she had her siblings come through and take everything that they wanted from her parents' home. And, but I really like this bedroom set. It's mid-century modern. And I said, leave that bedroom if you can till the very end, because I'd like to use it to stage the property. The property's going up for sale in the next few weeks. And so, you know, I saw a couple things that, you know, some of the relatives took. They took the pictures on the wall. They took some of the lamps. They took some of the, you know, decorations off of it. But I still felt that the bedroom had some purpose. So I asked them to keep it there till the end of the sale, so that we didn't have to spend any more money staging the property. We could use the what was already in the home. We did have 4 estate sales prior to this staging because there was a lot of stuff that they left. The parents lived in the house for 60 years. And you can imagine, they were just talking about 20 years. You can imagine 5 children, 60 years, and what they accumulated in that time. So when I came in, after the family went through it, there was still so much stuff that we just said, okay, let's have an estate sale. Let's make some money for the estate, and we'll use the money to kind of help stage the home with other things that we may need. So this is an example of just what I kind of saw at the beginning. And then Peter, do you want to switch to the next stage? And this is what were the results of what we did. So basically, it didn't cost a lot of money to do this staging. And it's basically, we took the comforter and we just got a duvet cover, added some, interesting pillows. And because it's Gloucester, we added some fun, like bathing suit prints, inexpensive lamps, and a couple, and a different rug to kind of bring your eye up to look at, what, this looks like a more appealing picture than this. And the cost of this was little to nothing. It was like maybe $100, if that. But because we did the estate sale, we had the money to kind of use that money to kind of buy these products. And there's a really terrific thrift store up where we live. A lot of this is from the thrift store, secondhand, because we know you're not going to take it with you. And, it's we're actually putting up a list of things for sale at the open house because the designer and I, she said, well, we can just sell it back to the buyer. Maybe the buyer wants to buy this bedroom. Maybe they want to buy the bedding. Maybe they want to buy the shell lamps. Maybe they want to buy the pictures. So we're coming up with an inventory list, and we also, because we needed pictures, we actually went to a local artist and we asked her to hang up some of her art in the house so that we didn't have to pay for that as well. So she's going to be selling art at the open house as well. So it just shows that, sometimes, but before Bob comes in and does his clean out, maybe Bob's going to come in after the sale and clean out. But you can donate, you can reuse, you can recycle things, and this is what is going to bring your buying pool that much closer because you're opening up to all sets of buyers. Now, this is going to appeal to a younger set, an older set. This is a 4-bedroom home. It could be a multi-generational people, but this is definitely more attractive, and it didn't cost a lot of money to do that. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, practical, everyday, real-life examples. Janine did didn't she do a great job, Janine? All right. Next, we're going to hear from Saugus resident. He owns a karate studio down right here in Saugus Center, Jason Scaduto. And Jason is a home buyer. Now, people say, you're in the real estate business. What do you want him for? He's competing. It's not competition. We're all in this together to try to make a better community. And I can tell you, Jason's done about 85 houses in Saugus. 85, is that right?
Right about there.
And he takes these, every neighborhood has one, right? Sort of brings down the neighborhood. He brings up the neighborhoods with what he does. So Jason Scaduto.
Good morning, thank you for having me. My name is Jason Scaduto. As Peter said, I buy houses. My goal is to always take the worst house in the neighborhood and make it the nicest house in the neighborhood. We're usually pretty successful with that because most of the houses we buy are in need of a lot of repair. To her point about the staging, we 100% of the time stage the houses we do. We definitely help sell. Not only do they sell for more, but they sell faster, which is great. Some of the advantages of selling to somebody like me versus listing a house, having open houses and all that is it's a very quick process. I know the Saugus, Linfield, North Shore market very well. 90% of my flips are Saugus, Linfield, Melrose, Wakefield. Every once in a while I venture out to Revere, Malden, but I prefer to stay in Saugus. But some of the advantages are you don't have to do any open houses, you don't have people walking through your house. And that all being said, I don't want to be contradictory to what they do, but most of my flips, even if they're off market, come from realtors that have a client that not necessarily want to list them. The market in Linfield's very interesting. Linfield's a community that's all 100% on septic. So in Massachusetts, to sell a house, it has to pass Title V, which is not a failed septic. So I recently bought a house through Peter. It was actually his brother's house. That had a failed septic. So when a house has a failed septic, you take 100% of the buyers, and before you know it, you're down to about 10% of the buyers, because not a lot of people have the money to do the septic right away, and a lot of the sellers, especially like in your situation, your niece and nephew didn't want to necessarily put a septic system in, spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 doing that. So I come in, I buy a house as is, I write a check, it's done, it's over with, and we try to make it simple. Peter, how fast do we close that, 10 days?
Yeah.
I recently put a house in Saugus under agreement, I believe that was last Wednesday or Thursday with Peter. Showed me a house at 4:15 in the afternoon, it was under agreement by, 5:30? I don't lowball, I'm not one of those, I'm not a national company, I'm a local, I know what houses are worth. I feel like if you lowball somebody right out of the gate, you lose them. They have no interest in speaking with you. So you go in, you make it fair, I always do my due diligence, I get my numbers, I know what I can make on a house, what I can do on a house, what it's gonna cost me, and what it's gonna sell for. And a lot of times, those numbers all come from realtors. I'm always, bouncing stuff off Peter and vice versa, and other realtors. But with me, there's no inspections, there's no appraisals, there's no home inspections, there's no contingencies, basically. I make an offer and it's a done deal right then. I work with different clean out companies and stuff, same thing. I tell people, I know when you're moving, I see people, it's amazing. I'm doing a house right now, as we speak, it's getting cleaned out. In Melrose, the people moved to that Brooksby Village up in Danvers, and they wanted the same thing. They didn't want anybody through their house. I made them a fair offer, we agreed on a number, and then they needed to stay 2 extra weeks. So with somebody like me, where I'm not doing bank financing and stuff, there's no pressure where, you lose your rate if you don't close and all that, those type of things. We try to work with them, it's your biggest asset, and there's an emotional connection 100% of the time. And it also amazes me the stuff people leave behind. I was just in a house, like I said, in Melrose this morning, one of the clean-out companies, there's photo albums, there's stuff, and you just say, stuff you guys hold on to, it's just amazing, and then don't take with you or nobody wants. So stuff that's important to you isn't necessarily important to other people. And I always tell people, declutter one room at a time, or start cleaning out. It's so overwhelming, especially, these people were in this house for 50 years. They bought it in 1975. Great people, but it's overwhelming. Somebody said something about tools, you know what I mean? It's amazing the stuff people save. And paint cans. I can't tell you, there's gotta be 50 paint cans. And you pick them up, they're all solid, I'm hoping some of them full of money, but I have a feeling they're not. But like I said, my shtick is that I make it very, very easy, make a fair offer. And it's not for everybody. We're in such a strong market right now, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot, not listing a house, but there's some houses that don't. I also buy damaged houses, fire damage, water damage, neglect, a lot of neglect. It's your biggest asset, you're sitting on some equity, and sometimes when it's time to downsize, you want to tap into that equity so you can travel or do whatever. And that's about it.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you again. There may be circumstances where you just don't want to go through the process, or you have a relative and the place is really run down and you've inherited it and you don't want to deal with it. That's where you take someone like a Jason's offer. And it's always been fair. And he's a Saugus guy and he does a great job. And the last step in the process of downsizing is you're going to move. And you have things that you're going to keep. And you want to store the things that you want to keep before you move them to Florida or South Carolina or wherever you want to go. And that's where King Moving and Storage comes in. And we have, Santiago's not here with us today, he's the proprietor, but we do have Jeff Wilson, who I visited last week, down at King Moving and Storage right here in Lynn. And they were, come on up, Jeff, they were, North Shore Realtors had them at a conference and featured them, where they sponsored something. And they went out of their way to let us know that they take care of senior citizens and they take care of the community. So, Jeff, thank you very much. Speak into the microphone and say hello.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. So my name is Jeffrey, as Mr. Peter just said. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right.
So we are a moving and storage company out of Lynn, family owned and operated. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. So we specialize in moving seniors. So what we do is, like the panel said, once you guys are moving, my team will come in, we will pack up all your belongings, how you want it. At the next stop, we will unpack it. We will take our time. What makes it very dear to me is, I'm from Alabama. My grandmother, 3 years ago, she died at 104. She had, that's a long time to be living, I'm just saying. But But and she had dementia. She gave birth to 19 kids. Don't ask me how. I don't know. It happened. So she had dementia, and we had to make the decision to put her somewhere where she had specialists to take care of her, which was very big for the family. And my father, I'm gonna blame him. He got this moving company in Alabama who didn't take the time to really understand her situation. And to me, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Because when you have seniors, you have to take the time to hear them out. You know what I mean? You can't rush them because, like we all know, moving is big and it's a pain for everybody, young and old. So my team specialized in patience because it's very, very, very important to us to have patience with each and every client we deal with. And if my team can't do that, then we're not the fit for them. So we want to let you guys know that we offer anything moving related all over the country, hopefully all over the globe sooner or later, but for right now, all over the country. And we're moving a lot of people from Massachusetts to Florida and things of that nature. I just want to let you guys know that for King Moves and Storage, any and everything you need that's moving related, and as far as like with staging, we have a warehouse 7 minutes away. We could store your stuff so they can do the staging. And then we will bring it back, or we can keep it for however long you need us to. For downsizing, same thing. If you're not ready to get rid of all of your personal and most precious belongings, we will store it. We have a warehouse, 24/7 security, climate control, everything. So whenever you guys need us, we're right down the street. We do our best to do whatever we need for the community. We volunteer, we help with anything you need. So with that being said, thank you guys so very much for having us.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I don't have time for. Sure.
Do you guys do evictions?
Boss?
Yes, sir.
I also want to say one thing that Janine mentioned, and I wanted to say that even all this stuff that we all say is stuff, some of it is of value, and some we don't know. But we also sell personal property also, where as a homeowner you can make some good money, like $3,000 to $10,000 that we have people. And when you do consider downsizing, that money can go to your smokes or the remaining trash, the remaining that doesn't go to Savers or whatever, and then Bob Penta picks up, that's real trash. But I mean, I always say someone's trash is someone's treasure. We sell so many different things. I just remembered one time doing one, and Peter and I did it together, and cat litter. People just buy everything, towels, a cleaning company comes in, or things like that that mean something of value to somebody else. So that's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. We have time for questions. So clearly, you may have some, I lost my signal. All right. That's all right. Anybody have any questions for anyone up here? Attorney, yes, Carl. My good friend Carl Stroh.
Yes, I'm Carl Stroh, 13 Bill Road, Saugus. Indian Valley. I built my house in '62 when it was all woods and swamp. But then my question would be, I got my kids and grandchildren, 10 great grandchildren, I'm only 60, but anyhow. My house years ago, matter of fact, Peter, he's just so brilliant at times, I asked him information.
Yeah.
I put my house in a irreversible trust. And now here it is, 15, 20 years, I've lost my life and what have you. And I have no proof. I built my house back in the day with us old timers, we just paid cash. So I got no slips, no anything, and I got probably, I built in '62, I probably got like 100 or so thousand in the house, and I read recently, as I say, Peter's advised me on a lot of stuff, that it's funny, at one time they had something with a 500, I'm thinking, I'm clearing out now like we're talking about, I don't know what I'm doing, I got my kids Boxwood and all that stuff, you don't wanna hear that. But, so, I'm hearing that if you sold your house within 2 years, when your spouse died, a lot less taxes. But after 2 years, then, you know, you're really gonna get zinged. So I'm just wondering, for somebody else, I've got a house with no, with absolutely, no paperwork, and it's probably worth around 800,000, as Peter Manugian kinda told me. And, about taxes, so I sell the house, I can't prove any money I get in it. What happens in the sense of, okay, yes, please, Don, okay.
Let me give Donna Di Giovanni that question. The question has to do with, is there a time frame to sell the house after a spouse passes that you would get the best tax benefit?
Yeah, the 2 years that you're talking about is to get the exemption amount. But there's two different exemptions. So there's a married exemption of $500,000. So if you sell in a year that you're married, or even a year that your spouse passes away, but she was alive during a portion of the year, I believe you get the $500,000 exemption. So if you're married and you sell, you get a $500,000 exemption on your primary residence. If you sell, I'm nearly 100% certain, if you sell in the year your spouse passes away, you still get that $500,000 exemption because you file joint that final year. Once you're into the next calendar year, your exemption is $250,000. So you do have a $250,000 exemption. But certainly, despite the fact that you don't have the same kind of proof that a person who bought their house yesterday, who could say, here's the check, I paid $800,000, there's nobody that could dispute you, IRS or otherwise, who's not going to say, well, I know it was 1962, but you certainly put a structure on there, and you certainly bought the land for something, and you've certainly improved it over the years. And your accountant, in doing your taxes, would say to you, well, did you ever put a roof on? Oh, yeah, of course we did that, twice in fact. Did you ever, vinyl side, or do this or do that? And, you kind of ballpark into that number. And a good CPA or a good accountant would be able to sort of get you to a number that is honest, yet not unrealistic. And so you'd be able to add onto that $250,000 exempted gain some basis in your house, which is what you paid for it, plus what you've done to improve it over 60 years,
62
right?
years, I can't even show that I put 100,000 in it.
I don't think anybody's gonna, I
But I
wouldn't.
mean, let's say I got no paperwork,
Yep.
and I put 100,000 in it, and I sold for 800,000. So you're talking that like 250, so now we're down to 550,000. So, because of the 250,000. So am I gonna be taxed on like 500,000?
Well,
My house is evaluated for like 700,000.
I mean, so what I'm saying is, you're gonna start with the 100 that you think you put into when
Yes,
you.
but I have no proof of that
Right,
either.
I understand. And then I'm assuming you've made some improvements over 62 years. I think with your accountant, nobody's gonna say, well, get me a receipt from 1970 that shows you vinyl sided. I don't think
Right,
anybody's
right.
gonna, but they'll put in some money and they'll go, what do you think you spent? And so they'll come to a number that's higher, proof or no proof. And I think your accountant will be able to say, the IRS is never gonna look at this and go, this is time for an audit, this is an unrealistic number. So you'll keep the number realistic. And so, yes, the gain is the difference between what you paid, how much you improved, what you improved it by, and the $250,000. But I don't think you're stuck at 100 plus 250, 350 off your 8. I think you'd be able to add in something, and no IRS agent would dispute the fact that even by taking a drive-by, clearly the roof isn't a 62 roof.
Right.
Clearly the siding wasn't 62.
One more question is, I'm loud anyway. But, a lot of people I've heard sold their homes, and I even had a family member that sold their home at like, was 550,000. But believe it or not, they gave like close to 100,000 in cash. So the house was sold for 450. But the person who sold knocked off $25,000 because they gave him 100,000 cash. Has that ever happened? In other words, people would pay 550,000. I'll knock off 25,000 if you give me 100,000 cash.
Not on my watch, but yes, it happens.
Okay, yeah.
And one more point I
You
want to
can
add.
hide that 100,000, right? Okay, you don't, okay, right. I can tell you're a lawyer.
But I will add one more point to your original question. The other thing that happens to the basis in your house, remember I said you're starting with your 162 plus your improvements. You also may get an adjustment to your basis to 1/2 of the value on your wife's date of death. And the only reason why I'm saying may is because you mentioned that trust.
2 years ago, the value may have been less.
Let's say that value was 6 2 years ago.
Right, okay.
So you'd have 300 plus 50 from your initial purchase,
Right.
plus half of your improvement, and then your 250. So we're creeping that number up.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, very informative, I appreciate that.
Boy, does she talks from experience. Yes, sir. State your name, please.
My name is John Singajeski. We're from Everett. My question is, if a person has been in a house for 45 years and we want to move out of state, what would be the best sequence for us to do everything?
That's an excellent question. John's question is, if he wants to move out of state, he's been in this house for 45 years, what is the best sequence of events? That's how we structured this. Donna, again, the first step along the way wouldn't be to see that his papers are in order?
Well, I would do this. If you called me and you said, I want to look at my will, but I'm leaving, and I usually say to people, well, what are you talking about? Are you saying you're going to downsize in another 10 years, or are you downsizing by New Year's Eve? And if it's by New Year's Eve, I usually tell you to roll with it. Wait, don't look at it now, because whatever I fix might be broken by the time you get to the new state. So people will look at me and they'll go, so you don't want to touch it? And I'll go, no, save your money, spend it on something else. When you get to Florida, South Carolina, New Hampshire, wherever you're going, revisit them with your, Florida, New Hampshire, South Carolina, whatever. So I would, if you were doing it in a real short period, relatively short period of time, and I'm not saying 6 months is, if you said 7 months, I'd be like, oh, fix it. Sometimes I'd even let, a year go, and I'd say, I would say, let it go, do it in your new home state, and, stick with what you got.
Peter?
Does anybody else want to comment on that? Maureen? The question again is, what sequence should he use if he's planning to move out of his 45-year?
Thank you very much. Maureen Bernard again from Reading Cooperative Bank. What I would suggest to do is, when you say you want to talk to a professional on what the value of your home is right now, and then kind of get a sense, if they aren't licensed in Florida, North Carolina, wherever you're going to go, they could recommend a real estate agent in that state. Sue or Peter could do that, or anybody from Rango. And then what I would do is maybe talk to like a finance person too, because then you want to kind of see, like I wouldn't write a loan in Florida or something. However, I could help you with the numbers and say, what do you think your house is going to be worth, here? Do you have a mortgage on it? What are you going to net for the income? And then what are you going to use for that income to go buy? And I can help you with the numbers, but I would probably refer you to the agent to see what the value of your house is first. And then talk to a bank. You can talk to me. I'll be more than happy to help you, even though we don't, we go to New Hampshire and Maine, but we wouldn't go to Florida at this time or anything like that. But I can help you with the numbers to see like how you bridge it. Do you want to have a mortgage at all? Do you want to have a small mortgage at all? That's the other service that we offer here at Reading Cooperative Bank, that I can pre-qualify you for a loan. So if you're going to sell and you say, I only want to be able to have a $100,000 mortgage, or or say you don't sell your house, we have what we call, and you wanna buy in this area, we have what we call bridge loans, where we help you bridge the gap so you don't have to sell, and then you can buy, and then Sue and Peter will tell you if you have a house contingency to sell, and say Peter doesn't, say I have one and Peter doesn't, Peter's probably gonna win that offer on that house. The other thing I just wanted to touch upon that Donna says too is about with trust. The nice thing about with Reading Cooperative Bank is that we will, if you buy a house and say a family or a nominee trust, and the attorneys will review it, we can do that. We will allow you. A lot of the other big companies, mortgage companies or big banks, do not allow you to close on a trust. So that's another reason why you want to come to a community bank like Reading Cooperative Bank. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anybody else want to comment on Bob's question? Corinne?
If you have a real estate agent come into your house, the first thing they're going to do is to tell you to downsize, declutter, so that the stagers can come in. Or sometimes you don't need to declutter and the stager can just come in. But whatever you do, if the house is going to go on the market, it has to look in tip-top shape. And the best way to do it is to reduce the amount of things you have and or make it look as pretty as possible. It's hard for people that don't have a creative mind, which is the majority of us, to see past other people's belongings and imagine themselves in the house. And there are things that we may not see anymore because we've lived there for so long. Maybe it's a hole in the wall, maybe it's just a bunch of stuff in the corner, whatever it is. You may not see it, but I guarantee if a home buyer is coming in, a real estate agent, a stager, any of them, that's the first thing that they're gonna see are, work, things that I have to fix. So you want your buyers to be able to envision themselves in there, and they won't be able to do it if all they see is your stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Corinne. Anybody else want to comment on that? Okay, we have another question right here.
Separate question.
Sure. Your name?
My name's Judy. I live in Revere on the beach. My mother is 95. I hope she makes it to 103.
Hopefully.
But she lives 400 miles away and still lives in the house I grew up in. She's been in that house for 73 years. The house is on a lot, and there are 2 adjacent lots that she also owns that we keep mowed. When the time comes, do I sell the house and the lots together or sell them separately?
Great question. Again, Donna?
So I'm gonna venture a guess on this because we're out of state and I'm not licensed to give you any information on there. It will really depend on how those lots are zoned, whether they're buildable on their own or buildable the 2 together, or whether they're small, they have to stay with the house. So a local broker probably, just like Mango would do that up here. I know Sue's like, they'll call and go, what do you think? And she runs to the local town hall or the local city hall and she'll check with the building inspector. I'm sure Peter does that as well. So I just remember doing it recently. And they'll verify how it can be sold. And then from there, they'll figure out which way you're gonna do better financially. Because sometimes the parts are worth more than the whole. And sometimes the whole is worth more than the parts.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Great. As an aside, in Saugus, we hear that there's 2-family houses, 3-family houses. There's very, very few 3-family houses in Saugus.
Legal.
Mango, we just sold a house right up the street here, that the owner came to us and said, I got a 3-family. There's 3 numbers on the door. And there were 3 kitchens. And the assessors were assessing him as if it was a 3-family. He was paying more on taxes. But our due diligence requires us to go to the zoning office, the building inspector's office, and see what is it zoned for. Zoned as a 2-family. It was built after 1928, so it's not grandfathered. So I have to explain to the owner, yes, you were paying taxes as a 3-family. Yes, it's been used as a 3-family, but we cannot sell it as a 3-family. We had to sell it as a 2-family. Now you would say, is that fair that the person has to pay taxes? Well, the assessors have a simple rule. If you have the equipment for a 3-family, and even though it's not zoned as such, you will pay those taxes as if it was a three-family. And it's hard for people to get their arms around it, but it's a distinction between the role of the assessor and the role of the building inspector. More questions? Yes, Mary Kinsel.
Where can we find the business cards for everybody?
Our cards and all of our items are on the table. Please help yourself when we close up. And I have a question here from Mary.
Thanks, Peter. The house we live in was conveyed to my husband from his.
Mary, use the mic.
I am.
Thank you, Mary.
What was conveyed to my husband from his father's estate.
Thank you.
And we don't have a record of what the price was. Where do you, is there a way to find that?
You don't need it. Your value starts at your father-in-law's date of death. It's your, like, purchase basis. Because you got it by inheritance on his date of death.
But what's the dollar, how do you?
It would be whatever it was valued at on his date of death.
But how
Now,
do you find that?
how long are we talking about?
35 years.
So I'd start with like an older broker, you know, who might be able to say, I've been in the business for 35 years, and I know that house probably would have sold for blank 35 years ago.
Oh.
Or you might be able to, if you can find documents and you might have, you might be able to get back historically with the assessor's office to an assessed value 35 years ago. Some towns actually keep those around that long. And then a broker might be able to say, yes, Saugus was assessing for X in, thank you, 94, and it was sold for maybe a little bit more than that. And again, as long as you got some realistic basis for it, you're not gonna have a problem. No IRS agent is gonna really question that.
All right, thank you.
We have time for one more question. Anybody else have another question? If not, I want to thank all of you for coming and participating, and I want to thank our guests for their time and expertise. Please help yourself to some of the items, cards and cups and mugs and things there. And please do not leave any of these wonderful refreshments behind for kids and bites. Have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, we're available for you. Thank you.
How do you base your fees? How do I do my pricing?